Today we are reviewing the 2021 Mercedes Benz G Wagon 550. But this isn't your average G Wagon. This is actually a special edition, one of 200. Now, what makes the ultra rich and the luxurious in the next tax bracket always go towards this G Wagon? Let's find out. All right, now I'm behind the wheel of this 2021 Mercedes Benz G Wagon 550. Now, like I said, this is a special edition, so there's a lot of changes on this one. Most of them are cosmetics, but that you don't have in the typical 550 series. Now, starting on the outside, it looks absolutely phenomenal. Without a doubt, it is one of the best looking cars on the road. Starting on the front, you do have a massive blacked out grille with a massive blacked out Mercedes Benz logo right there in the center, and it looks great. I love the contrasting of the exterior of this car, and the front end of this car truly, even though this is a luxury SUV, it truly keeps the off-road feeling to it. And you've got the old school turn signals on the roof of the car, on the side panels, and then a boxy roof panel. One thing that's unique about the G Wagon is the fender flares. The fender flares, you'll notice as you walk around the G Wagon, not only do they protrude out like 6-7 inches, but they fade right into the doorstep, and then they go to the back and they turn into the fender flare again, and then they go down into the rear bumper and around. It looks absolutely great. It really plays nicely with how the whole exterior looks. Now, sticking to the front, another thing that is actually new for this 2021 model is the circular headlights. They've got like a circular light within them around the edge, which we have come to see those more often in recent years, you know, being a 2021 on other manufacturers and stuff. But I believe this is one of the first ones to actually do that style of headlight, and it looks phenomenal. I like it. Some people don't, but I think it looks great. Let us know in the comments what you think about it. Now, because this is that special edition, when you get over onto the driver's side of the exterior, you've got that 1 of 200 badge, just to remind everybody that you've got the special one. Moving along to the back, you do have another Mercedes Benz logo. However, this one is placed on the spare tire carrier, and the spare tire carrier is themed to match this car specifically. It's black and red, looks great. Now, one thing you'll actually notice that you think might be missing when you get to the rear of the car is, where is the exhaust? Well, actually, the exhaust on this car comes out on the side, and it points downwards, so that, you know, on older G Wagons, they actually did still come out on the side. However, you could actually see them there. And, you know, some people might burn their legs, or kids might accidentally grab it or whatever. So now they have it pointing downwards so that you don't have any accidents like that. I think it's a good move, but one of the things that I actually really like about that is you can just hear it a lot better when you're inside and you're driving, and it just sounds absolutely amazing. We'll talk more about that, but this G Wagon sounds absolutely fantastic. Another thing that I absolutely love about the G Wagon are the wheels. The 20-inch blacked out wheels. They just look absolutely fantastic on this car. Go phenomenally with the red. 20 inches is plenty. In this G Wagon, you're already sitting quite a bit higher. And so if you put on 30s or anything like that, you're gonna have a hard time getting in and out of this thing, even with the step on the side. I think 20 just looks absolutely fantastic. On the exterior, you've also got other things that we can't show you right now due to it being daytime, but you've got indicator lights and all sorts of things going on out there, ambient lighting and whatever you may want. But yes, you've got courtesy lights, and, you know, so if you open up the door, it throws some light on the ground so you can see where you're going and you don't fall into your G Wagon. Now let's get to what actually makes this G Wagon special. When you hop in, you do notice many different changes compared to other 550s. This one, you'll notice, instead of being a fully blacked out interior, you've got a black and white contrasting interior. I think it looks absolutely phenomenal. Wasn't expecting it with the red exterior. You know, some of the other 550 models, they might have a red seat belt or red stitching. Nope, not this one. It's got white stitching on the panels all throughout with the leather, and it just looks fantastic. On the door panel itself, you've got kind of a carbon fiber trim, some quilted white leather, very soft, very nice to look at, very well done. Just the pinnacle of luxury right here. And then you've got your door control or your window controls at the top, also power folding side view mirrors, which is great. You've got heated and ventilated seats, 3 memory function, and about a 14-way adjustment power seats, and they are highly customizable. If you go into the multimedia center and you start messing with the seats, you can basically drag around a pinpoint and get like your lumbar exactly where you want it. Uncle Steve messed with mine a little bit, so I'm not quite as comfortable as I could be, but I'm still comfortable nonetheless. And then below that, you've got a really nice, aluminum speaker grille. Looks absolutely fantastic. And then the ambient lighting for the door handle. Again, that carbon fiber trim just looks great. You would think with all the different kinds of styles and different material types and everything, it might be a little concerning. No, this looks absolutely fantastic. Now, to the left-hand side of the steering wheel, you do have these circular air vents, and they're very adjustable. Some of the most adjustable air vents I have ever seen in my life. You can spin them to the left and right, up and down, and then if you turn them a half turn, they've got more adjustment to them. And then again, they're covered by this black leather with the white stitching. Just looks fantastic. And below that, you've got the white leather again with your driver's assistance button, your parking sensor button, and your light control dial, as well as your digital gauge cluster brightness dial. Moving on to the steering wheel itself, you do have telescopic control to adjust the steering wheel. That is where you typically have your control, but this one does have the automatic telescoping buttons. One thing that is interesting if you're looking at the steering wheel itself is you see these little 2 black squares. What do? Well, the right one actually controls the infotainment center. It's a touch button, like think of it as a little touchpad mouse. But on the left-hand side of the steering wheel, where you've got your touchpad that controls the digital gauge cluster, you've got your cruise control, your different driving assistance buttons, and dial to set your cruise control. On the right-hand side, it's a little bit more fashioned towards the infotainment screen. Like I said, you've got your home button, your back button, your call button, favorite buttons, your volume control, all right there. And it makes sense that it's on the right. And all those buttons are on the right because they control the infotainment center. And also on the G Wagon, you do have manual shifting paddles, which those are fun. So happy they're there. Moving on to the center of the cockpit, above you've got your rear view mirror. It is only a typical rear view mirror, no digital. And above that, you've got the control for your sunroof, your SOS button, call button, your dome lights, your door lights. They're all right there. That's even got an option for book reading lights. And then once again, a beautiful silver aluminum speaker grille for your center channel speaker. I just love all the different contrasts that are going on in here. It looks fantastic. Now below your infotainment center in the center, again, you've got 2 of those circular air vents. They blow hard. They look fantastic, highly adjustable, fantastic. In between those though, that's where you've got your 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 differential locks. So if you are actually going to take this $200,000 vehicle off-road, you've got all the capability you could ever need right there at your fingertips. Now below that is where all your HVAC controls are, temperature up and down. This is actually a tri-climate heating and air system, so you can sync it up or control them separately, whatever you see fit. And then below that, you do have your navigation button, your radio button, media button, a little analog clock, and then a telephone button, and your hazards button. Now, not everybody likes touchscreen, or not touchscreens, but the touch pads to control these infotainment centers. So that's okay, because you do have a touchpad to control your infotainment center here. It's got the back button, your skip track forward button, and your home button, but in front of that, there is a dial. You can use that to also control everything. Let me know what you prefer in the comments. Personally, actually, this touchpad on this Mercedes is extremely accurate in my experience thus far, and it's actually a pleasure to control. I don't mind it too much. To the left of the touchpad here, you do have your drive mode selector. This does have a custom mode, an eco mode, a sport mode, or a desert mode. On the right hand side, you've got your volume knob, a power button. Now the power button doesn't control the car or anything like that. What it actually does is it turns off your infotainment screen. And then you've got a button for your exterior cameras and your low range. moving on to what's in front of you while you're driving. On the right hand side, you've got your infotainment center, and in front of you got your digital gauge cluster. Both of these are 12.3 inches. Neither one of them are touchscreens. Everything is controlled with a button, a touchpad, or that dial that I had mentioned. It took me a couple minutes to get used to it. I'm over here trying to poke the infotainment screen and doesn't do anything. But it's very responsive. Things are kind of buried in menus, so that's something that you have to get used to, but it's very responsive, and the animations on it are absolutely awesome. When you're scrolling through the menus, it's got different animations for everything, and you can even control the ambient lighting in the car to the full extent. You've got full color spectrum control of how you want this interior lighting to be. Within the infotainment center, that's where you can also control your seats, like I mentioned. And that's where you get the fine-tune adjustments. You can tune them even finer than you can with the buttons on the left here. That's also where you can enable or disable the massage chairs, and also your passenger gets that too. Both the driver and passenger have heated, ventilated seats, as well as full power controls and both massage. Absolutely awesome. One thing that might blow your mind that the G Wagon doesn't have is Android Auto or CarPlay. If you want that, you actually have to get an accessory. That was kind of surprising. You're stuck with the built-in navigation and whatever you can find on the radio or Sirius XM or whatever. So I guess, yeah, surprising. What do you think of that? Let me know in the comments. Also within the infotainment center, that's where you control things like your suspension or your steering feel. So you've got sport or comfort for both. And currently I believe we have it in sport, and it feels great. But we'll talk more about that later. And then within the digital gauge cluster, again, 12.3 inch screen. You can look at different things such as navigation, your eco display, trip monitor, and then it's also got the G-force panel. And the G-force panel is just neat. It's kind of like your pitch and yaw on your off-road vehicles, which this is an off-road vehicle, so that makes sense. But so it kind of has this little pinpoint in the center, and it'll move like when you're braking, as we are now, the dial goes up, and when you're taking off, it goes down, or when you're turning, it shows you how that body roll's going. Now moving on to the rear, again, you do have tri-climate control, so you do have some climate controls back there. You do have a USB type A port again, and actually something that might surprise you, especially for a luxury car such as this, you got an ashtray. In the center there, it does fold down, and you've got two cup holders for your rear passengers. There's tons of headspace back there. Uncle Steve at 8'6" fits phenomenal. The problem that you'll run into is not the headspace. The problem's actually legroom. So if you've got somebody tall in the front, then you try to put Uncle Steve in the back, he's gonna get cranky. You don't want Uncle Steve mad before you go get lunch. Then if you go all the way to the rear, you do have a 115 volt outlet. It does not have that third prong, so you are a little bit limited on what you can plug in there. You've got a cargo cover, and that's about it, as well as a subwoofer. Fantastic. And this does have one of the best speaker systems that you will get in an automobile. Now, as far as the drive feel goes and comfortability factor, it's off the charts. I mean, it's just absolutely perfect. It's very comfortable to drive. You would think too, for how boxy this is, I mean, it's literally a box, how boxy it is, that you would have tons of wind noise and road noise and everything like that. But actually, they did a fantastic job with the acoustic glass and the sound dampening. You really don't hear anything. All I hear is Uncle Steve breathing. The visibility is absolutely fantastic. The sound is absolutely great, even though this windshield is practically completely vertical. It's like got no pitch to it, and you can't really hear anything. All I hear is the sweet, sweet rumble of the V8. The steering wheel, or the steering feel, is great. It's tight. When you move it, the tires move. You don't have any play. It's not trying to drift all over the road. Whoever owns this is taking fantastic care of it, and it's just a pleasure to drive. If you floor it, man, it sounds so good. When it downshifts, it sounds even better. The seats themselves are extremely comfortable, especially with that fine-tune adjustment. Uncle Steve keeps messing with mine, so I get more uncomfortable by the minute, but I know if I just slapped his hand away, I could get extremely comfortable. And I can get a massage while I'm at it. But no, overall, it's just an absolute pleasure to drive. It's like driving on a cloud. It doesn't feel dead. It's fun. It sounds fun. You know, it doesn't like, you don't have that EV feel that I've been getting so accustomed to lately with driving all these EVs. I just love the G Wagon. If I could drive one every day, I would do it in a heartbeat. All right, let's do our 0 to 60 test with our race box and see what we get. We're in sport mode. We got the race box set up. Let's see how she does. 6.29 seconds. Not bad at all. I've got Uncle Steve in the car with me here. Now, you know, 6.2 seconds is plenty fast for a large SUV, but we do plan on making this even faster. We've got race chips to install, throttle chips to install, and we're gonna see just how quick we can get this luxury SUV over time.
This is my first time driving a G Wagon. It has been always my dream to drive one. In fact, I have the opportunity to just purchase one back in 2010 for, actually it was a G280 and it was a 2-door. It was for sale for $8,000. However, the price went up like crazy, especially after pandemic. The current used car price for this model is around $130,000. The MSRP is $130,000. So the market price pretty much almost, I guess, 50 grand. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Or maybe 20 since 2021.
It's not often you get a car that appreciates in value.
Yeah. I think it's because of the tax, right? Yeah, so for the driving impression, is like Josh said, it's pretty, steering is tight, doesn't feel like an SUV. It has speed. It's not like a Land Cruiser. It's really quiet. The seats are comfortable. However, for me, is in the back it's okay. It's a little bit tight compared to other SUV. I don't think it's good for, I don't know, family of four, especially you have a baby or a toddler. And the trunk space is reasonable. Or for sure you cannot go. You won't take it to a Home Depot, get like 2x4 or plywood or drywall, right? With a G Wagon. For the powertrain, the G Wagon has not changed much for the past 20, 30 years. The first production is back in 1979. That's crazy. That's so a 45-year-old Uncle Steve, not even that old yet. Maybe Josh is. So it has been production for like 45 years. The engine option haven't changed much for the past 2 years. 4.0 liter V8 turbocharged twin turbo. It has the 550 has 416 horsepower and 450 foot-pound of torque. The other model, which is the G63, the top of the line, it has 577 horsepower and 627 foot-pound of torque. So for 0 to 60 for 550 model, it's 5.9 seconds. And we did what, 6.28? 6.28, that's pretty close.
Yeah, and we're gonna get it above or lower than that 5.9 mark too.
We should, right?
Oh yeah, we should, we better.
However, for the G63, that's crazy. You ready for this?
Give it to me, Uncle Steve.
3.9 seconds.
Jeez Louise.
And quarter mile, 12.5 seconds. That is crazy for an SUV. I'm not talking about Tesla, I'm talking about gasoline engine SUV. And the gas mileage is even crazier for the G63. 12 miles per gallon for the city, 16 for the highway. If you can afford like $200,000 car, then I guess you don't care, right?
Right, yeah, because this also takes premium.
Even worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but for the G550, it's 17 miles per gallon for the city and 19 for the highway, a little bit better. One thing I really don't like is a locking differential, you know. In order to activate the locking, you have to go to the low range and then you have to press the center lock first and then the rear lock and then the front. You cannot lock the rear without locking the center. That's kind of like, I don't know why they do that.
It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, but for like Toyota, you can just either lock the back or lock the front or lock the center, right?
Yeah.
Or lock all three. But for this car, you can. You have to put the low range too. So,
but counter question: in this, when are you ever going to use those? Unless it's snowing.
I use the center lock a lot when I drive in the snow. You know, like a foot long, a foot high, or two. So I do use it center, but this you can not allow you using center lock too.
Yeah, only in low range it says.
Yeah, so that's one thing I don't like. And the second thing is I feel a little bit too small, that's it. Maybe I'm just too big.
Yeah, Uncle Steve, you're just too big. No, I have to agree. There's not a lot to dislike, really. You know, I even like how quality everything feels. Nothing creaks. The doors are ridiculously heavy. Even the back, like the back door is one of the heaviest car doors I've ever seen in my life. And I love barn doors. That's one of my favorite things about my GX is it's got the side opening barn door style back door. And this has the same thing. And it's just fantastic.
Anything you really don't like it about this car? You say you really like this car too, huh?
Yeah, I just really like it. I can't pick. There's nothing I can really nitpick on. I'm going to nitpick on the fact that it doesn't have a wireless charger and it doesn't have wireless CarPlay or CarPlay at all for that matter. Well, that guy's driving on the sidewalk.
So basically this car is almost near perfect.
Yeah, I mean, for its price point though, that's kind of what you expect, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford it, I mean, you don't care about the gas mileage, and it's pretty reliable actually. Yeah. It's one of the most reliable engine that Mercedes ever made, you know.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I love the suede headliner, the different contrasting trim pieces and leather and everything. It's excellent. So in conclusion, what do we think of this Mercedes Benz G Wagon 550 Special Edition? Well, you heard it. We both absolutely love it. And you are going to want to stay tuned for what else we're going to do to this exact vehicle. This is a owned vehicle that we have access to, and we are going to continue making changes to it, continue doing videos on it, and bringing you more of the absolute pinnacle of luxury SUVs. There's not an SUV in this class that is better than this, or that is more comfortable than this, or that has more features than this. Let us know in the comments what you think about it. Would you ever get a G Wagon? Is that something you even have an interest in? Or would you rather, you know, a Tesla or, you know, something boring? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you on the next video.